Welcome to Old Speaks. The night is quiet, but these stories never sleep. Am I wrong here for not consoling my boyfriend because I make more money? Reddit, I need a gut check on whether I'm in the wrong or not. I make a good amount of money, which I know some people will already hold against me, but I live a very modest lifestyle. My monthly budget is around $4K a month, and most months I bring in about $30K. I'm self-employed, so sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Next month, minor flex because I'm anonymous and it'll be around $80K before taxes. I have a boyfriend and we've been dating for 5 months. He's a good guy but more traditional than anyone I've dated before. He works as an assistant manager at a farming shop making $15 an hour. We're both in our mid-30s and live out in the middle of nowhere. I only moved here to be close to my niece and nephew. He doesn't know what I make. We've only been dating a few months and I'm pretty private about my finances. I drive an older car, bought a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house last year, and have almost paid it off. The issue started when he saw one of my invoices to a vendor pop up on my phone notifications. The bill was about $5K. He was shocked I was paying that much. I told him it was the cost of doing business, and he said it must be nice to spend twice what a normal person makes in a month on business expenses. I'm usually pretty unbothered by conflict, so I told him it would be even nicer if I didn't have to pay that bill at all. He dropped it but seemed distant over the next few days. When I visited him at his place, I asked what was wrong, and it turned out that seeing me pay someone $5,000 had sent him into a bit of a spiral. He was trying to figure out how he could feel like enough when I was paying other people more than he makes in a month. I didn't love the way that was worded and asked him if he would feel the same way about farmers who spend thousands on equipment. He said it was different and asked how much I actually make. He hadn't asked before, which was partly on me since I had always given the impression that my income wasn't that impressive. I had a bad feeling, so I told him $120K, which is my official salary figure. If you know how certain business structures work, you might understand what I mean by that. Anyway, he got really emotional. I think if I had been kinder, I should have tried to comfort him. I know he was feeling inadequate, which he isn't. He has a genuinely interesting job and is incredibly knowledgeable about farming. He's well respected in the community since we're surrounded by ranches and he knows everyone, and honestly I find that really admirable. But he was upset that I regularly see more money than he sees in a year. I may have dropped the ball a bit and told him he was going to have to find a way to be okay with not being the provider, and then I left his house. I just couldn't figure out a way to make him feel better without lying more or making myself seem smaller than I am. I guess I could have said something more reassuring, but it's easy to think of those things afterward. My guess is that this is some kind of early midlife crisis, but I resent that it's coming at my expense. That because I'm doing well, he feels bad. If I found out he secretly had a lot of family money, I would be genuinely happy for him. But apparently learning that I could comfortably pay a $5,000 business expense made him feel like less of a man to the point where he felt the need to take a dig at me. That feels like something he needs to work through. I'm still a bit frustrated about it, honestly. I'm also coming from a place of real privilege here because it's been a few years since I've had to stress about bills. And I won't pretend that doesn't change your perspective. So am I wrong here? And also, what do I do now? AITA for refusing to eat my wife's spaghetti after I found out what she put in it? Not the a-hole. Last night my wife made spaghetti and it smelled amazing. She said she tried something new and wanted me to eat it before asking any questions. I had a few bites and it tasted a bit off, kind of sweet and earthy, but not terrible. I asked what she changed and she told me she blended up leftover spaghetti from 6 days ago and mixed it into the sauce to thicken it. I immediately stopped eating. I know it's technically the same ingredients, but the idea of old noodles blended into fresh sauce made me feel sick. She got upset and said I already ate half the plate, so it was clearly fine, and that I was just being dramatic now that I knew. I told her that's exactly the point. I didn't know. If I had known beforehand, I wouldn't have eaten it. She said I was being wasteful, disrespectful, and acting like she served me something rotten. I ended up making a sandwich because I couldn't finish it, and she got really upset and barely spoke to me the rest of the night. Now she told her family and they think I embarrassed her. But my mom says it's gross and I shouldn't have been tricked into eating it. I feel bad for hurting her feelings, but I also feel like I should have a say in what I eat. I fell in love with my married neighbor and then I babysat his kids. Now I'm questioning my feelings. ITA for... Well, I guess I just need advice about this whole situation. First of all, I'm new to Reddit, so sorry if this is messy. I can't talk about this with my friends or my mom, so I'm posting here. I'm also posting in a few different places for advice. I'm a 34-year-old woman. 7 months ago, I went through a bad breakup and moved in with my best friend and her husband. That's when I met my neighbor, who I'll call K. He helped us move in and I immediately developed strong feelings for him. We both take the same train to work every day. I knew from the beginning that K has a wife and kids. He talks about them all the time. At first, it was just a harmless crush. He's handsome, funny, kind, and attentive. He actually listens to me, unlike my ex. He's always doing sweet things for his kids. It was easy to imagine how good he would be in a relationship. Over time, we became friends. We talk almost every weekday on the 20-minute train ride. He has never said or done anything inappropriate, but I feel like we have a real connection. Yesterday evening, Kay knocked on my door and asked if I could watch his kids for a few hours. His wife had been in a car accident while on a business trip and she's pregnant. So he was very worried and had to fly out to be with her. I said yes right away. The kids were extremely difficult. There are 3 girls. The oldest is a preteen and was very rude. She argued with everything I said and even muttered insults under her breath. The middle one was loud and messy, and the youngest joined in. At one point during hide and seek, I got locked out of the house and the oldest pretended not to hear me when I asked her to open the door. This really shook me. Before this, I used to imagine being a stepmom to his kids one day. Now I don't know. At the same time, I can't help but think their behavior shows that maybe Kay and his wife aren't as happy as they seem. I really care about Kay and I believe we could have a wonderful relationship, but I'm worried about how things would work with his kids, especially if he ever left his marriage. I know this is complicated and people will judge me, but I just needed to get this off my chest and hear some honest opinions. Was I wrong for suing my parents for my college money? My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all the girls in our family. In our culture, education for women is often not valued, but she strongly disagreed with that. She was educated in London, became a doctor, and had a great life. She made it her mission to help pay for the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl in the family. My parents took the money that was meant for my sister and me and used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't mind because she got married right after high school and never planned to go to college. When I graduated and went to the bank, almost all the money was gone. Only about $13,000 was left. I asked my parents what happened and they said they needed the money. I was furious when I found out the truth. I took out student loans, moved out, and now I'm suing my parents to get back what was supposed to be mine. My entire family is against me. They say I'm a complete jerk for taking this public and putting money before family. My friends support me, but they don't really understand our culture. My brother called and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I said I would agree only if we had a proper legal contract. He got upset and called me untrusting. I told him he shouldn't have used my money for his wedding in the first place. This whole situation is causing a lot of embarrassment in our community. I feel somewhat ashamed for doing this, but I don't want to be stuck with debt that I shouldn't have. Okay, let's move on. Was I wrong for agreeing to split the bill on a double date? Hi everyone. I'm a 22-year-old woman and I'm really unsure about this situation. My best friend and roommate, Amy, also 22, had been seeing a guy for about 2 months and things seemed to be going really well. Last night she asked me to join a blind double date, her with the guy she's dating, and me with one of his single friends. I wasn't really interested at first, but she insisted, so I agreed. We went to a nice local restaurant and everything seemed fine at the beginning. The guy I was paired with was nice, but I wasn't feeling any spark and I'm not really looking to date right now. At the end of dinner, the bill arrived. Amy said, "Don't worry, the guys have got this." I replied that I didn't mind paying my part. We had each had 2 cocktails, so it wasn't a huge bill but not cheap either. There was some back and forth. Amy kept saying that the men should pay, but I told her I was happy to split the bill. The guys ended up paying, but they both looked a bit uncomfortable. After dinner, Amy went home with her boyfriend and I went home alone. Later that night, Amy texted me saying her boyfriend was now rethinking the relationship. He apparently doesn't want to be with someone who always expects the man to pay. She blamed me for offering to split the bill and said I should have supported her. Now they're not talking and she's upset with me. Update: Amy still isn't speaking to me. The tension in our apartment is really bad. She and the guy aren't talking either. I'm starting to think there are bigger issues here, and our friendship might be over. I'm even looking to move out. Final update: Amy apologized because she can't afford the rent alone and can't find a new roommate quickly. I feel bad, but I know I need to be around more supportive people. This version is fully safe for YouTube, natural to narrate, and keeps all the important details and drama. Want me to change the title again like the previous one? Or adjust anything? Just say the word. Was I overreacting for not wanting to buy after this interaction? I've been wanting this monitor for about 2 years. I finally found one listed for $1,000. The listing clearly said $1,000 or best offer, so I made a reasonable offer of $925. That's less than 10% off. The seller immediately became very hostile. He called me broke, said I couldn't afford nice things, and accused me of lowballing him, even though his own listing invited offers. I stayed calm the whole time. I politely reminded him multiple times that best offer means people are allowed to make offers, and I even apologized at the end just to keep things civil. Now I'm in a dilemma. I've wanted this monitor for a long time, it's a good price, and it's hard to find used. Should I swallow my pride and pay the full price to a seller who insulted me, or should I just walk away? Was I wrong for asking my stepdaughter to move out? This is an ongoing issue in my home. I'm a 33-year-old woman, currently pregnant with my first child. I live in a 2-bedroom house with my husband and my 23-year-old stepdaughter. We get along fine, but we're not super close. Now that the baby is coming, we really need more space. Unfortunately, we can't afford a bigger home right now. I suggested to my husband that we ask my stepdaughter to move out. My reasoning is that we need her room for the new baby, and she's a 23-year-old adult with a full-time job, so it's probably time for her to live on her own. My husband agreed. We brought it up gently at dinner one night and offered to help with her first 2 months of rent. I even told her it could be fun, that we could go shopping together and I'd help her decorate her new place. She was very quiet about it. Later she told my husband privately that even though she has a job, she can't afford to live on her own. He then told her she didn't have to move out. Now we're scrambling to find space for the baby. The other day I was home alone with her and tried to talk about it again. I offered to help her find a roommate, but she got upset, told me to leave her alone, and locked herself in her room. When my husband came home, he was angry with me and said I should stop bringing it up. Things have been very awkward and uncomfortable since then, which is making my pregnancy really stressful. She is 23, old enough to live independently, and we are willing to help her. We need the space for our baby. I don't understand how I'm in the wrong here. What should I do? My best friend cheated on her boyfriend and now they're engaged. I introduced one of my best friends, let's call her Kiana, to one of my good friends, Mason, 3 years ago. They hit it off immediately and have been together ever since. They bought a condo together and just adopted a dog last month. From the outside, their relationship always seemed really good. On Saturday, Kiana and I went out dancing with some colleagues from work. We were all having drinks and a good time. At one point, Kiana went to the bathroom, but after a while I saw her talking to a guy at the bar. Before I could reach her, I saw them kissing. I was shocked. I pulled her aside and asked what she was doing. She said it was nothing, just a heat of the moment thing, and begged me not to tell Mason. I told her she put me in a really bad position. Later, she left the club with that guy in a cab. I was really worried and kept calling and texting to make sure she was safe. The next morning, she came to my apartment crying. She admitted she had slept with the guy and immediately regretted it. She said she missed feeling wanted by other men and gave in to the temptation. I told her she needed to tell Mason the truth. A few days later, She texted me that Mason had proposed and she said yes. She was super excited when she called me. When I asked if she had told him what happened, she said no, and that she couldn't tell him now because it would ruin the engagement. She's already posting the ring all over social media. I've been friends with Kiana for over 10 years and I love her, but I'm really angry. Mason is one of the kindest people I know, and he deserves the truth. At the same time, I don't want to destroy my friendship with her. I've been cheated on before, so I know how painful it is. Now I'm stuck knowing the secret while they're engaged. What should I do? TLDR. My best friend cheated on her boyfriend over the weekend. He proposed a few days later and she said yes without telling him. I'm the only one who knows. What do I do? Was I wrong for changing my last name without checking with my friend? I have a problem with one of my friends and would appreciate some honest feedback. Before my daughter was born, my wife and I decided to change our last name. I don't have a good relationship with my dad, so I didn't want to give my daughter his name. We chose a last name that we both really liked. It was my wife's grandfather's last name and similar to my mom's. We went ahead with the name change. A while later, we met up with my friend and his girlfriend and told them about it. That's when we found out that his girlfriend has the exact same last name we chose. We didn't know this before. We laughed it off as a funny coincidence and moved on. 2 years passed. My friend became distant and stopped responding to invitations to hang out. Recently, he suddenly told me that his girlfriend feels very uncomfortable with us having the same last name. They accused us of knowing beforehand, because it's in her Instagram bio, and said we should have talked to them before changing our name. He asked me to meet with them so his girlfriend could read a letter about how she felt. During the meeting, she insulted me multiple times, calling me weird and either the most unaware or inconsiderate person she had ever met. I stayed calm and explained it was just a coincidence, but they refused to accept it. Later that night, I texted my friend saying I didn't understand their reaction. He said we were bad friends for not clearing it with them first. The conversation turned into him and his girlfriend screaming at me, insulting me, and even threatening me over the phone. I'm really confused and heartbroken that the friendship is over. I don't understand why they're so fixated on this. Am I in the wrong here? Was I wrong for refusing to drive a longer route to drop a girl off? I'm a guy, and this situation involves me and 3 other people. Let's call them Joe, Sandra, and Amy. I've been best friends with Joe since we were kids. I know Sandra through him, and the 3 of us hang out regularly. Last week Sandra brought her friend Amy along. It was my first time meeting Amy. We went to see a movie and then bowling. Afterwards, Sandra asked if I could drive Amy home. I said sure, no problem. I'm usually the one who drives everyone home. I live about an hour north of everyone else. From where we were, the logical route was to drop Joe off first, then Sandra, and then Amy on the way back toward my house. After dropping Joe off, I was heading to Sandra's when I noticed Amy and Sandra texting and whispering. Sandra then pointed out that I made a wrong turn, and that Amy's house was the other way. That's when Amy said she didn't want to be alone in the car with me because I'm a man and she doesn't know me well. She wanted me to drop her off first, then drive back 10 minutes in the opposite direction to drop Sandra off, and then drive another 10 minutes back past Amy's house again to get home. That would have added an extra 20+ minutes to my already long hour drive home. I politely said no. They both kept pressuring me and trying to guilt me, but I stood my ground. The rest of the car ride was extremely awkward. When we got to Sandra's house, Amy slammed the car door. The next day Joe called me and said he thought I should have just done it. I feel like their request was unreasonable. I'm not going to go way out of my way for someone who clearly doesn't feel safe around me just because I'm a man. Am I wrong here? Was I wrong for refusing to call off my divorce after my cancer treatment succeeded? When I was diagnosed with testicular cancer, my husband filed for divorce. He said it would be too much to take care of me. In my province, you have to live separately for 1 year before the divorce is finalized. Since he left, I went through surgery and chemotherapy. My latest checkup showed no evidence of disease. I'm cancer-free. When he found out, I still don't know how. He went to court to withdraw the divorce application. He told me we could stay married now that I'm no longer sick. He was actually shocked when I blocked his attempt to stop the divorce through my lawyer. I don't want to be married to him anymore after what he did. Update post. March 7th, 2026. 3.5 years later. My divorce was finalized yesterday. I'm finally free. My divorce was made official yesterday. It's over. 4.5 years of hell and being stuck in limbo, and now it's finally finished. Last night, I slept better than I have in years. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer on August 30th, 2021. Just 7 days later, my then-husband told me he was leaving because it would be too much to take care of me. He said he didn't sign up to be a nurse. The oncologist even warned me that this happens a lot, but I never thought it would happen to me. I went through surgery and chemotherapy. It was brutal, but in August 2022 I was told there was no evidence of disease. When my ex found out I was cancer-free, he suddenly wanted to call off the divorce. He was shocked when I refused and fought hard to drag it out. Yesterday the court finally made it official 4 years and 6 months after he left. I haven't seen or spoken to him in years, and I never plan to again. I'm cancer-free. I got a great new job with the provincial government. I'm planning a vacation for my 40th birthday, and most importantly, I'm free. Was I wrong for being furious after spending months helping 2 employees who hated each other? And now they're dating? Over the last few months, one of my employees, let's call her Alice, has repeatedly come to me complaining about conflicts with a person from a neighboring department named Mary. Both are at the same junior level, only a few years out of school. The conflict always seemed odd and not very clear, but both Alice and Mary were extremely upset. There were claims of bullying and problems with sharing materials. I observed their interactions, and they were somewhere between tense and outright rude. I coached Alice on how to behave professionally at work, and Mary's manager did the same with her. Mary's manager and I spent a lot of time and energy trying to understand what was really happening and whether one of them was the main aggressor. What made it so confusing was how little actual reason there seemed to be for such strong hatred. For example, Mary once told me she couldn't even be in the same room with Alice without feeling overwhelming fury. HR got involved, the union got involved, and I've spoken with more union representatives and HR people in the last few months than in the previous several years combined. The situation was hurting office morale so much that Mary's manager and I even had serious conversations with the union about the possibility of firing both of them, even though they are both very high performers. This week, Alice came into my office looking happy and told me the problem was solved. She and Mary have made up and have now started dating. This came right after a whole week of new complaints about Mary's behavior and even more escalation with HR. I am furious. I don't get angry easily, but right now I am. I coached these 2 young women through what I believed was a serious workplace conflict in complete good faith. I trusted Alice and saw it as my job to protect my people. Now it feels like this was all just some immature high school level drama. I haven't said anything to them yet. I don't know exactly what I want to say. I definitely won't address it until I can think clearly, but I'm wondering, should I just be glad the conflict is over and let it go? Or is it reasonable to feel this upset? Any advice? The scariest thing happened while I was chatting on C.ai yesterday. Last night I was chatting with a mafia character on character.ai. Out of nowhere, he asked me, "Can I come into your room?" I jokingly replied, "Come in." Then he asked again, "Should I knock? Or just come inside?" I continued playing along and wrote back, "You don't have to knock, just come in." The moment I hit send, my door handle slowly started turning. The door opened by itself. There was no one there. I froze completely. I was alone in my room and I couldn't move even an inch from my bed. I just stared at the open door, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. Finally, I rushed over, slammed the door shut, and locked it as fast as I could without even looking outside. For context, I live away from my parents. My room is on the 2nd floor. The only other people in the building are the house owners, a husband and wife who live on the 3rd floor. I gathered all my courage, opened the door again, and checked the hallway. There was absolutely no one. Then the house owners came downstairs after hearing the loud bang and asked what happened. After I explained, the wife went to check the main entrance. When she came back, she told me the key was still stuck in the lock of the main gate, meaning someone had unlocked it and left the key there. I was terrified. I went back to my room and locked everything. Then a notification popped up from C.AI. It was a message from the Mafia character that said, "Why are you scared, darling? You told me to come in and now you're scared." I went completely blank. I didn't reply. I deleted the entire app immediately. I couldn't even sleep last night. To this day, I still don't know what really opened that door. And honestly, I don't want to know. It was one of the most horrifying experiences of my life. After I got initiated into the religion, I was going through a lot of drama in my life, especially with my family. My dad put me through hell. I thought that if I joined the same religion as him, maybe we could finally have a good relationship. Even though I went to jail for something I didn't do because of him, I asked my father for help because I wanted to get into the religion and become better like him. He used to be a bail bondsman and had done some very bad things in the past, but I still took the blame for him. I asked him for guidance anyway. I went to Cuba and got initiated into Santeria. It was beautiful. It changed my life and made me a better person. But I feel like my dad saw that and didn't like it because he's a real narcissist. He told me I should become a high priest, that the guardian on my head was telling me to take the next step. So I went to Florida to do IFA. That's when I saw my dad's true colors again. After I came back, I started smoking and drinking again. I hooked up with the girl who got initiated with me in Cuba. We went back to her house. She laid down because she was messed up and I was next to her. I was about to take my clothes off and go to sleep when I heard a noise outside. I kid you not, her ex-boyfriend was downstairs screaming for his life. Then I saw a bunch of raccoons jumping around. I hated the guy, but I didn't want to see him die. As I was about to run downstairs, I saw something I can't explain. It looked like a portal opened, like the ones in the Terminator movie, with blue glowing edges burning through reality. Out of this pitch-black portal, something in a black robe floated out. It had its hands up in a choking position. It never touched the ground. Its face was pure black, like empty space. I couldn't see any arms or hands clearly. It floated up to her ex-boyfriend, pulled a knife from its sleeve, picked him up with one hand, slit his throat, and threw him. Then the guy just vanished. The creature stood there in the backyard for about 10 minutes, waiting for me to come outside. After that, it turned around, floated back into the portal, and everything went back to normal like nothing happened. This was in 2015. Last year, I saw it again in my house, just peeking at me before disappearing. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. It floated like it wasn't even real. I've never seen anything like it before or since, except in a dream when I was a kid. I've done research online. Some people say it could be related to Santa Muerte or other entities, but I don't know for sure. I was too afraid to go downstairs that night. This is the first time I'm sharing the full story. I go to counseling, I take medication, I do everything I'm supposed to do. But I still see things with or without the meds. True story. My teacher's old tale. My old teacher, Mr. H, once told us this story. When he was younger, he was working at an elementary school. One day the fire alarms suddenly went off. The only kid he saw in the hallway had brown hair. The boy ran past Mr. H and entered a classroom. As soon as the boy went inside, the fire alarm stopped. Mr. H followed him into the classroom to check on the students, but there was no brown-haired boy in the room. The teacher inside asked him what was going on. Mr. H just brushed it off, thinking it was his imagination. Years later, Mr. H took me and my class to the old abandoned elementary school. The school had gotten funding for a new building, so we were helping move some insulation. At the entrance, on an empty bookshelf, we saw a stuffed pig. For some reason, I picked it up. As soon as I did, I heard a voice say, "Put the toy in the piano room." Since I wanted to get out of the real work, I took the stuffed pig to the piano room and left it there. When I came out and we were getting ready to leave, my class suddenly heard piano music playing. That's when I saw him, the same brown-haired boy, sitting at the piano playing with the stuffed pig next to him. Mr. H looked at him and quietly called him Timmy. I call him the child of knowledge because he seemed connected to the school. After that, I saw Timmy heading toward the media center, even though it was boarded up with old desks. To this day, I still wonder who Timmy really was and why he was still there after all that time. But I'm glad I chose to help him. Was I wrong for stealing a $700 bottle of bourbon from my brother-in-law? In my family, a few of us are really into collecting and drinking bourbon, mainly me, 29F, my brother-in-law, 33M, and my dad, 60M. Some bottles are extremely rare and expensive, so collectors will line up for hours or attend special events to get them. Last Thanksgiving, a liquor store near my sister and BIL was having a big event with a lot of rare bourbons. Everyone who arrived early got a number, and the numbers were called randomly. When your number was called, you could buy one bottle at regular store price. Earlier numbers had better choices. My BIL was super excited because he has a huge collection but had never been able to get a bottle of Pappy, which is basically the holy grail of bourbons. I was 50-50 on going because I also collect bourbon, though my collection is much smaller. But I hadn't fully committed since it was Thanksgiving morning and we had a lot going on. At the last minute, my BIL had to work. He asked my sister, who doesn't care about bourbon, to go in his place and try to get the Pappy. She asked me to come with her so she wouldn't have to go to this whole bourbon circus alone. Since I had already thought about going, I agreed. We also invited my dad, but he thought the whole thing sounded weird and stayed home. My sister and I got numbers 54 and 55. My number was called pretty early, and I bought a bottle of Pappy for around $100. Normally, that bottle sells for $700 or more. My sister was called much later after the Pappy was already gone, so she got a bottle of E.H. Taylor instead. I was thrilled. This was the bottle of a lifetime. But when we got home, my BIL immediately said, "That is my bourbon." He believes I only went as his stand-in, so the Pappy should belong to him. He says I stole the bottle he would have gotten if he had been able to go. I disagree. I went because I also collect bourbon and wanted a chance at a good bottle for myself. I never agreed to give him whatever I bought. I knew my sister was there for him, but I went as an independent person. My BL still calls it his Pappy and brings up Pappygate all the time. So Reddit, was I wrong? I genuinely didn't realize he thought I was only there on his behalf. In his mind, I schemed to take the one bottle he's wanted for years. Disclaimer. This argument is mostly in good fun and I love my sister and BIL. I just want to settle it. When I eventually open this bottle, he will 100% be there for the first tasting. Was I wrong for not asking my girlfriend's dad for permission to take her on vacation? My girlfriend and I are both 22 and we just graduated college this past spring. Her parents have been separated for a long time, and I interact with her mom much more than her biological dad. She doesn't have the best relationship with her dad, but she still talks to him and wants to improve it someday. A few months ago, I received a special offer from Royal Caribbean because of a previous cruise I took with my parents. At first I wasn't going to use it, but my girlfriend saw it and said a cruise sounded fun. She mentioned she never got to do things like that growing up. I talked to her mom about the idea and she loved it. She was really happy to see how much I care about her daughter. I worked some overtime shifts and ended up booking the cruise. I planned to surprise my girlfriend on graduation day. She was absolutely thrilled and has been looking forward to it ever since. Last night we went to dinner with her dad. She was super excited and told him all about our upcoming Bahamas cruise. He got really upset. He said he would have loved to have been asked for permission before I took his daughter halfway across the world. I was caught off guard and told him that since we're both adults, I didn't think I needed to ask for permission. He didn't like that answer at all. He canceled his order, said he wasn't hungry anymore, and walked out of the restaurant. Now I feel like I'm not in the wrong, but I'm wondering, is this some kind of societal norm I should have known about? Or is he just being overly protective? Was I wrong for offering a frozen dinner to an uninvited guest at my dinner party? A couple times a year I like to throw a nice dinner party for my old friends. This time I invited 5 people, 2 couples and 1 single friend. We've all known each other for about 15 years and get together every few months. I was making filet mignon and a small lobster tail for each person, plus 2 sides. I spent over $300 on the food and didn't buy extra because the main items are expensive and served 1 per guest. As a surprise, the single friend brought his new girlfriend, who I had never met. I was polite about it, but I was upset because I only had enough food for the people I invited. I pulled my friend aside and explained that I didn't have extra filet mignon or lobster tails. Those aren't things you can easily divide between more people, especially since they're cooked to each person's preferred doneness. I offered to heat up a frozen pizza or a frozen dinner for his girlfriend instead. He got very upset and accused me of not liking his new girlfriend and trying to embarrass them. After that, they left. Was I wrong? Should I have tried to cut up the fillets and lobster tails to spread them out for an extra person instead of offering a frozen meal? Edit. I didn't think of them splitting plates at the time. I have ADHD, so sudden changes in plans can be difficult for me. Another friend messaged me later and said the guy who brought the uninvited girlfriend had been arguing with her before they arrived, which might be why he got so upset and left quickly. My daughter surprised me with a birthday gift on her Switch, and I wasn't happy. I'm newly 55 years old. My daughter, who is turning 23 soon, told me several months ago that she was working on a surprise for my birthday. I was pretty surprised because she's still in university and often complains about not having much money or time. On my birthday, she stopped by before my wife and I were leaving for dinner. She handed me her Nintendo Switch and said, "Play Animal Crossing. That's where my surprise is." She smiled, wished me a happy birthday, and left. Later that night, I opened Animal Crossing on her Switch. The island was decorated like a children's birthday party, full of balloons, cakes, and very childish decorations. The animal villagers would walk by and randomly wish me a happy birthday. It looked like the kind of birthday party you'd throw for a little kid, not for a 55-year-old man with a wife and a daughter in college. A few days later, my daughter came by to pick up her Switch and asked what I thought of the gift. I told her I was confused. It felt more like a kid's party than something for me. She looked upset but didn't say much. She just took her Switch and said she'd talk to me later. My wife says I was ungrateful and called me an asshole. But I don't see how I'm wrong. There wasn't really anything there that felt like it was for me. Was I in the wrong? My best friend started dating the girl I've liked for 3 years, and I'm still not okay with it. Some background. I've been close friends with this girl, let's call her R, for about 10 years. Around 3 years ago, I started developing real feelings for her, but I kept it to myself. Only a couple of close friends knew my best friend J, and 2 others, K and V, who is R's best friend. This past summer, J, K, and V all encouraged me to finally ask her out once the school year started. I was genuinely excited. It was one of the only things giving me hope. I had just lost a family member in July and was in a really dark place. Working up the courage to ask her out meant a lot to me. I told Jay my plan and he was fully supportive. Then, out of nowhere, R texted me saying she had a feeling I liked her, but she couldn't reciprocate because she actually liked Jay. She said she still wanted to stay friends. That text destroyed me, especially with the timing while I was grieving. I gave her a fake, "It's fine. I already moved on" response because I didn't want to make things weird. 3 days later, they started dating. What really bothers me is that before all of this, Jay had told me he barely thought about R and wasn't interested in her that way. That was before I told him how I felt. The fact that his feelings appeared so suddenly after I confided in him makes me feel blindsided and a bit betrayed. I'm still friends with all of them, but I've been quietly resentful, especially toward Jay. R still comes to me for homework help and advice, and I help her because I genuinely care about her. But it's hard watching Jay be with her. He's failing his classes, makes comments about other girls, and doesn't seem to appreciate what he has. R is everything I've ever wanted in a person. I vented some of this to K and V, and they both said I'm the bad guy, that I shouldn't be mad at them for liking each other, that I brought this on myself, and that I just need to get over it. So, am I wrong for still feeling hurt, jealous, and betrayed by my best friend, even though I know R and J didn't technically do anything wrong?